Hello and welcome to Funded Futures. My name is Emily. I'm your host, and today I'm joined by Bijin Johnson, who is the founder of Gratis, which is an AI tech platform that's connecting graduates with real life employers. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
I mean, you've come a long way to be here. I feel very special.
Yeah. I definitely wanted to. I mean, this is the first time I've been able to kind of talk about Gratis like publicly, other than, me pushing my own content out. So I was very excited to kind of flesh out what we've been doing for the last 10 months.
And you have hosted your own podcast before, so
Yes.
I feel like I should be on my best behavior because I'm going to be judged.
Not at all. No. I've seen amazing. You were doing fine. I've seen your content already, and I love what you're doing with being able to give founders a place to kind of speak freely, and some great discussion points have come out of it. I think I was obviously here from the pitch night, and the week before I was preparing for it, and I actually was watching some of your episodes to actually get some hints. I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually, and I got some really good, ideas from listening to it. So it's
I love that.
Value. Yeah.
I guess for our listeners who don't know, the reason that you're on the podcast today is because you won a pitch night event that VentureCrowd hosted, a couple of months ago now. That's flown, hasn't it?
Flown by, yeah.
And your pitch was so incredible. I think the way that you spoke with such passion and energy about what you've been building at Gratis, and coming from your background, which really, it's not super similar. I feel like you've had a real pivot in your career. What has made you decide to start Gratis and, go down this path?
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. I mean, as a founder, the time just flies, and you're just, trying to think of one thing after another. And it's important to kind of step back and reflect. And I think that this forced me to do that. So it was good that you asked that, because I was thinking about what exactly led me to this idea. And for context, 2 years before I started Gratis, so I was working at Boeing as a systems engineer for the last 3 years.
That's unreal.
It was a great opportunity because, for context, systems engineering was initially developed by NASA to build rockets because it needed to have a new form of engineering in terms of how to build and deliver complex systems, and have billions of dollars of budget and work with thousands of people, and how do you organize that? And so NASA built that originally and developed this, and then the world kind of took it over. Boeing got it from NASA of how to build planes, and so being able to kind of work there and learn that has just been instrumental. And that kind of goes to the context of how this came about. But so Boeing was fantastic for the last 3 years. About 6 months into starting Boeing, I started a non-for-profit called DEGSA at the time. It was Defense Engineering Graduates of South Australia.
Okay.
And that was, the goal of that was we found that there was a gap in the market of an organization that was putting on events for graduate engineers. So there was a lot for university students, and there was a lot for senior engineers and experienced people or conferences and things like that. But when you're just coming out of uni, there was nothing kind of collaborating them together with an event. And it was especially important because if you're in defense, you all have the same customer. It's the Defense Force.
Yeah,
and
right.
So even though there's competition, at a graduate level, there isn't. You have more to learn and collaborate with each other. You'll have more value than no one's stealing ideas from a first year graduate. Don't worry. And so we were able to bring that together. And I think that was a different set of goals that the company had. And now I've handed that over, and that's rebranded and going national. So New South Wales and Queensland now, which is fantastic.
Huge.
But through that process, kind of by accident over the 2 years, there was just, I got introduced to different students and different grads, and then I was also talking to all these companies and graduate program leads, and especially the small to medium ones. And whenever I would find meet a grad or a student that could really add value to this company, I'd just connect them together.
Okay.
And then even with PhDs. So we worked with a company called Defense Trailblazer, which is a government initiative. And through one of our events, we were able to get 3 students into PhDs
Wow.
through what we were doing, just connecting students and these companies together. And then I think if you look at recruitment in general, and you talk to most people in recruitment, especially internally within companies, the most natural and frictionless and effortless way that recruitment can be done is by a referral. It's, there's an employer that's working there and it's like, oh, I have this friend who is fantastic and they're so good at what they do. I think they could really add value and I trust them and you should trust them as well. Give them a shot. Go ahead and interview.
Right.
And then HR loves that because they're like, you've just done all the work for me. Like, you know what I mean? You've vetted that person through your own life experience and you're working here and you trust them. And so that when they meet that person, they've skipped a lot of steps and it saves a lot of time and money. That's why a lot of companies have referral bonuses, where if you refer someone in, they'll give you like $2,000 or whatever the amount is because of the amount of work you save. And the problem with this model is it's not scalable. Like, how do you systemize and scale that? The recruitment industry, like external recruitment industry, kind of tries to do that with obviously having a recruiter who goes out and finds people for your company. I think the problem is, I don't think through no fault of them, maybe a little bit of, especially the graduate level, a little bit of trust has been taken out from that process.
Okay.
Just because I think like even though they add value, I think that enough bad experiences can give a bad reputation to an industry.
Totally. And I find that when I interview founders, the main issue they've ever faced in scaling their business is hiring the wrong person.
Yeah.
Like hiring a great person can change your business in such an exponential way, but hiring the wrong person can kill it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So scary.
Absolutely. And it's especially at a startup level, like you only get one or two of those shots.
Yeah.
And when you go out to market and hire someone bad, you can blame yourself, which is good. But if you're paying someone to go and find someone for you and they give you someone bad, it's very easy to blame that person. And again, it's these situations that take the trust out of it. I've met some fantastic recruiters in the world. Like it's not bad. I actually, it's analogous to like real estate agents, right?
Yeah.
Like when you think of real estate agents, you don't like have the best gut feeling about them. I'm not saying they're bad.
Sorry to any real estate agents.
Yeah, sorry to real estate agents or recruiters. There are fantastic real estate agents, right? But you're very vulnerable in buying a house and it's easy to be taken advantage of. And in the same way, like you said, for a company, especially at the early stage SMEs and startups, like you're very vulnerable when you're trying to say, I need to hire someone, because that's like, maybe $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year at a startup that you're giving away. That's capital. That's really valuable. And if you put that to the wrong person, like you said. And so and then the problem with recruiters is that model doesn't also scale well.
Yeah.
Because to scale a recruitment company, you just have to hire more recruiters. And so you can't really service an entire industry with that. Now this is all running in the background with my head. And so 2 years into Boeing, start of this year, essentially, I just happened to come across this idea of how can we take this model of referrals and scale it using AI? And that's kind of where Gratis came in.
Okay.
And it's like, to me, it was a data problem, and it's a two-sided marketplace problem. And it has great commercial potential because I know how much recruiters charge. Like it's like usually 10 to 20% of the first year salary, right? As a fee.
Yeah.
And so if we can kind of cut down the fee and scale it and add value and then build a business, a commercial model around it that can support it and scale that, it's gone. I felt like that had legs. I think that's the answer, because that's kind of how we got here.
Okay.
Essentially.
And in building this, are there any other businesses in the market that do the same thing?
Yeah. I think, okay, so this is a great story.
Right.
Now, how we built the company essentially. So I had this idea. I am personally just very allergic to being bored. I love doing things.
Very relatable.
Yeah, right.
I think our therapists would call that overactive anxiety. It's like the positive anxiety because you're so productive.
Yeah, it's true. And I guess, my, I'll get into Horsemaster a bit later of what that is, but the founder of Horsemaster, which is because obviously I've left Boeing now. I need to make some money, I have a wedding to pay for soon. But I'm doing some technical advising for another company called Horsemaster, and he's very Italian, Samuele Cavallaro. And he was telling me that his dad told him something where so a piece of wisdom about if you've ever driven like a really old school Ferrari, it's very raw and manual, and it's really easy to lose control. Going fast is not the Ferrari's problem; it's taming it. And I think he's like, some people, that's what you have to work on in building. It's like that overactive, proactive, going fast and doing things is not your problem. It's controlling it and protecting yourself against burnout and things like that, and making sure it's sustainable over the long term.
Sustainable growth is something not a lot of people talk about, but I think it is so important because people want to scale so quickly.
Yes.
A lot of them are raising capital and they're like, all right, we'll just bang this out. And it's that whole mentality of failing fast to scale fast. However, it isn't sustainable. And they get to this point where they've got an overinflated valuation, they've given away too much equity early on in the piece, and they hit this roadblock.
Yeah.
They're like, where to now? And that's why a lot of businesses end up failing.
Yeah. It's just not sustainable anymore. No one wants to. They can't grow it anymore. They've limited themselves. Yeah.
Totally.
For us, it was like sorry, what was the question you asked just before again?
Are there any other businesses in the marketplace that are
that's
similar?
right. And that's what I was leading to. So for us, our business model was, that I had that Christmas window at the end of last year. So at the start of the year, 3-week window leading up to, I'm like, okay, what do I do? And it was just before that window started that I had this idea. And then pretty much I had 3 weeks and I did like 20-hour days. Okay, 16-hour days. I had to sleep. And it was just on my computer, smashed out an MVP in like 3 weeks. This was start of the year when vibe coding was not a thing.
What's vibe coding?
You've not heard of vibe coding?
No, do I live under a rock?
Yeah.
Does everybody know what vibe coding is?
Everybody knows what vibe coding is.
Okay.
You're actually only the second person I've met that hasn't heard of it before, but you haven't. Vibe coding is essentially, now we have agentic coding. So you're able to use a computer, like an AI, to write code for you.
Okay. I did know that.
Yes. And so that building a software only using AI is this called vibe coding.
Wow.
And it's an interesting piece of technology. I think we'll talk about. I'll come back to it. I've got some interesting ideas about it. And so that wasn't a thing. So AI was still a thing, but it was very slow. Like, it was like copy and pasting things into chat, like building this quickly. I'm not a software engineer, to preface, right? Like, I'm a systems and like mechatronics was what I studied. So I don't have that traditional full stack like software background to be able to just start writing from scratch. So I was trying to work with the tools I had to build this quickly to prove it. But I was able to prove it. And then I built it in 3 weeks. And then I talked to my friend John, who had just left Boeing as well at the time. And I said, hey, what's this thing? Should we do this thing? And he just jumped on straight. It was like fantastic. So
yay, John.
Yeah, literally. I oh my goodness. I don't know how I would have done this without him. So he's obviously the co-founder of Gratis. And he is a software engineer. So he kind of fills the gaps.
We needed John.
Yeah, we needed John. No, please don't use our software without John. But we built this thing and then we thought, all right, we'll do a pre-seed, like the normal thing. I Googled it, like, how do I grow this? Okay, pre-seed, and then we'll raise money, get it built offshore, and then we'll, integrate it and sell it. That was my initial idea. Pre-seed didn't go well.
What happened?
I think no one was interested. It was too early.
Okay.
But I always say that it was the best blessing in disguise because pre-seed didn't go well in like Feb, March. And we go, all right, we can keep wasting money trying to raise money wasting time trying to raise money, or we can just go and do this ourselves.
Time is money though. So
yes,
you're right.
Yes, exactly. And it was being unproductive. Like we were just sitting on our hands, just waiting to hear back from funds and things. I'm like, well, we have the skill set ourselves. Like, why can't we just do this ourselves? And so we started doing it ourselves. And within the next 6 to 7 months, we both built Gratis completely. And then we're able to release this pilot into South Australia. And we were able to really learn how to use AI to build software in a really systematic and sustainable way. And I'll lead into that later. But about 6 months into this journey, when we had finished kind of building the product and I was starting to more go out to market again for like a seed, and just, talking to investors here and there, I forgot which VC firm it was actually, but I was having a meeting with this VC and she mentioned, I had a meeting set up with her and I looked her up beforehand, and she had posted an article on this company called Mercor. And I looked them up and they essentially were building the same tech as us. So which wasn't a bad thing. So Gratis, for context, is like there's 3 parts to Gratis that make it unique, right? It's the technology, which is the specific use case for AI, and it's the process, which is the recruitment process, and then it's the marketing or the strategy, like of how we distribution and getting ourselves out there. And it's the overlap of all 3 domains that make us unique. So there's definitely people doing different things in other sectors individually, but no one's doing just those 3 combined, and that's kind of where we're special. So Mercor was less of a competitor to us and more of a case study. It's like, okay, this is great validation. Like, I hope they do well, because then that proves and validates the technology because we have the same tech.
Yeah,
and this technology is essentially like this use case for AI in recruitment, where instead of this use case for AI in recruitment where you can build a platform where, you gather as much data as possible about a candidate or an employee. Can work both ways in different ways. Mercor does the same thing we do, which is that, we do a video interview and we pull the transcript. So at the end of the day, it's thousands of words on each person. And then it's using AI to build infrastructure that is able to search through that and sort it dynamically, right? And so Mercor figured this out a year before us.
Okay.
So they had a year head start. And this was founded by 3 22-year-olds in the US. Now, this VC told us about Mercor about 6 months after we had already started building it. So when I started this, I had no idea about Mercor. I didn't know that was the thing. And all my market research, they never came up because they're like this niche company. I think they were at a Series A at the time or Series B in the US. Didn't hear about it. As of last week, start of last week, the 3 founders have just passed Mark Zuckerberg as the world's youngest self-made billionaires.
What?
Yeah, they've reached a $10 billion valuation in 4 years, which is wild. Yeah.
Only in America.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
It is crazy. And I think like we heard the news and we were so happy. So their use case, for context, is they're expanding to more things, but how they got into the market was essentially offshore. So building global teams for large US tech companies, essentially like a Microsoft or Amazon that hires, thousands of software engineers from India, or as an example. So they can essentially use this platform to find the right people in India. And it's essentially an AI search tool that they can use to like use natural language to search for people there. Yeah. And then they hire them through Mercor. And it's for building global teams. So that's why we were like, well, we're not doing any of that at all. But the technology is the same. And so it validated, and the technology is what enabled that business model and that process to work. And so when you're asking about competitors, like that's probably the biggest one that there is in terms of the tech, and it actually makes us really happy.
Yeah. I think that's such a great viewpoint to look at them as inspiration and the validation in the market, that's what people are looking for and it's a necessity. Yeah. Because a lot of the time founders look at the competitors as, we're going to be compared to them, but in a negative light. But you can learn so much, so many great businesses. I had Adam Schwab, who's the CEO of Luxury Escapes, on the podcast. Oh, wow. And he started it because they saw Groupon in the States. And they're like, oh, let's just copy it over here. And they started it, with a lot of generic offers that were around, and they're like, oh, let's just make it just for holidays. I'm sure that'll work. And then they're doing $1 billion in turnover a year. So pretty crazy. I think that you can get such inspiration, particularly from US-based companies, and see that validation in the market. It's also really great for you as well to look at valuation comparables. Obviously, we have a smaller market here. That's fair enough, but quick maths, sure you can work it out.
I think that has bit us though with the valuation, which is exactly right. Like I think their Series B, because they just did the Series C, they raised 350 million at 10 billion for their Series C. Their Series B had a 22x ARR multiple.
Okay.
But then it's the AI bubble, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so true.
And we just don't have access to the AI bubble as much in Australia, as much as I wish we did. But I like to see that as a twist of like, if I can get this working in Adelaide of all places, which actually Adelaide has a fantastic startup ecosystem.
Oh, 100%. It's really booming. And I've been in startup funding for years, and previously you did not see many startups coming out of Adelaide. And in the last 2 years, I don't know what's happened.
Yeah.
Something's in the water.
Something's in the water. I think like really good state government backing, and Lot 14 is doing fantastic work. Stone and Chalk is kind of leading the pillar at Lot 14 as well. Ben Coley, who's the new manager as well for Lot 14, fantastic attitude. Like the impact that one person can make in like an ecosystem is amazing. So yeah, shout out to Adelaide. Like they're doing great. Shout out to us in Adelaide.
They're hustling, you're hustling.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously you've tried to raise capital previously. Yes. What were the biggest challenges that you faced? And was it just the time-consuming nature of it, the fact that you can't get a straight answer from funds and VCs? How did that go?
For us, it was all about mandate. We never had like a VC laugh at our face or anything. I've heard some horror stories. Because we have legs, like we have a good idea. But it was more like just we don't fit the mandate. We don't invest in marketplaces. We're not investing right now. Like it's like the Swiss cheese analogy of like you have to get all the holes to align to actually make it all the way through.
Oh my gosh, I've never heard this analogy.
Yeah, really?
Okay.
It's usually like they use it in aerospace a lot, because in airplanes like there's a lot of things can go wrong, and the Swiss cheese is the bad thing. It's like a bad thing happens when all the things align, and then there's an accident because like there's redundancies. But hey, we can use it positively as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, essentially, so many things have to align for an investment to be right.
Yes, so true.
And that's kind of been an issue of like just trying to find the right person to actually where things are aligned. It's a lot of it is just luck and really.
And how did you go about trying to create a valuation to put forward to investors in the beginning when you were searching for funding?
Yeah, I used ChatGPT.
Okay, amazing. And as you should, it feels appropriate considering your business model, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. But like, well, I'm an engineer and my co-founder's an engineer. We're pre-revenue. We have a product and a pilot beta tested, and we have customers who are onboarding on both sides. But revenue hasn't started yet because sales hasn't started yet. Like we literally only even integrated Stripe 2 weeks ago. Like it's not because we haven't tried to generate revenue. It's because we haven't even tried to generate revenue. And so valuation was a bit tough because we wanted to be fair. And so literally the first valuation I did was I put all our context into chat and said, hey, what are we valued at? I think, and then it gave us an $8 million answer as a valuation, which again, I just went, I'm like, great, I have no other context. I'm just going to go with this. And it's just about starting somewhere. And it was a bit high, like to be fair. And now that like in hindsight, I know that. But then it was obviously going to investors with this val. It was actually the pitch night, like Chad Stevens from one of the judges. We talked to him after the pitch night with this valuation, and he was like, where'd you get it from? I was like, yeah, Chad. And he goes, yeah, it might be a bit high. I would aim somewhere, a bit lower, between like 3 and 4. And so then we just kind of went smack bang in the middle.
Nice.
And like the biggest thing is like evaluation is what an investor is willing to pay.
100%.
For, right. So then just exposure, and then I think we're just going there. I mean, we haven't closed our round yet. We are hoping to close it at the end of the month. But we are pretty solid at 3.5 at the moment. So
that's brilliant.
yeah.
It's interesting. I get a lot of questions from founders and they say, oh, what valuation would you give me? And I say, well, I'm not a financial advisor, so I won't be giving you that.
Yeah.
And also there's so many methodologies. I would say that often an unsophisticated and very basic way to value a company is just, revenue multiples. And people go off that all the time. But there are so many. I don't traditionally like a Burkus method, which is essentially predicting your revenue. If you're an early stage company, obviously you don't have any data to go off. So it can be so misleading in terms of forecasting. Like I wouldn't trust a weather forecast for 30 days time. Why would I trust a financial forecast for 24 months time? It's always a really interesting thing, I think, when investors are like, oh, can I see your projected financials? Surely this can't mean anything, but it actually doesn't essentially mean that you're going to be held to that projection. It just means you know how to look at a business and see what your plan will be in the next 12 to 24 months. So that's a really good indication of what you're like as a business founder in terms of your mentality. Then there's other things, the strength of the team, the strength of the IP. Is it easily copyable? All of those things. It's very much art versus science at that point. And then getting it validated within the market is your best bet. Because as you said, it's just like it's only worth as much as somebody's willing to pay for it.
Yes, exactly.
It's like real estate. You can put your house up for $10 million. No one has $10 million or no one thinks it's worth $10 million. It ain't worth $10 million. You're not getting $10 million.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's so tricky, and finding that balance so that somebody isn't laughing in your face and saying you're being ridiculous, because that can hurt your case even more. Yeah,
but it's also hard because like founders are biased because they love their company, right? So they'll I was joking around with another founder the other day that a safe bet is just whatever you think it's worth, just halve it.
Nice. That's really spot on.
It's worked for me. So.
Yeah, okay, that's good. I mean, you got feedback from somebody who's invested in over 100
that's right.
startups, which is, I think you're getting a good bet at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know Chad loved your business, so that's within itself a really great compliment.
Yeah. And I'm like, I think another way of thinking about it is like, I don't know. I don't take it lightly that you're giving away money. And like money is really valuable. And like I come from India, and throwing around numbers like millions of dollars and like seeing people there who live on dollars a day. And it's like I think sometimes, founders can just get stuck in like just money and burning through it. So I don't take it lightly that you're giving away money, especially from a fund. Like that's people's like retirement plans, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's not light that you kind of take it. So in my head, I was also thinking about like, when you give me this money, like working backwards of what can I expect to exit at and what return can I give you as well, that justifies the risk that you're taking, right? Like I was saying to my co-founder, John, 2 or 3 days ago, I think I've been saying this the whole time. It's like, we have a business that either will not work or work incredibly well, because it's a brand new process. I think the odds are in our favor. But it's our biggest problem is like change. Like people don't like change. And there's a book by Grant Cardone called The 10X Rule. I don't know if you've heard of it, but
No.
It's a fantastic book. And he essentially makes the case that like, I think it was that book. He makes the case that like people won't change unless things are at least 10 times better.
Really?
Yeah, like mass adoption. Like if it's not going to be 10 times better, like people don't just like go, yes, let me try this thing.
And how do you convince somebody that it's going to be 10 times better? That's really the question as well.
Okay, so for us, it's like there's two sides of it. There's the students and the employers. From the students' point of view, I think that it's actually really easy to convince it's 10 times better. I think I can say we're at 20 times better. And it's because like if you're applying for jobs, I was I was a student back in the day, and like if you're applying for 10 different companies, your odds are like, if you get through these 10 different companies, and so each application is worth the one company that you're applying it to, right? And so if I can build a platform where you apply once and it goes to 10 companies, then
say less,
it's 10 times, right? Like, but our goal is not 10, it's like 200. So
wow.
So the idea for a student, it's stagnated with it's accumulated with, yes, one application goes to hundreds of companies. You get a signing bonus when you get a job. We will add value back to you. We're on your campus investing in your student societies. Like, we have a presence. We have a reinvestment model. Like, the fees that we are getting from employers when you get hired as essentially hiring fees, like our business model is essentially to invest back into our economy, into the ecosystem of Gratis, back in the universities, back into the students, back into the companies as well, the SMEs and the people that don't have marketing resources usually or time to hire grads. It's like, well, we can help with that. Like, we want to grow this. And we want to be seen as more than just a company. We want to be seen as infrastructure. Like, that's the goal. Like, whenever I push Gratis, I push infrastructure, because the goal is to make this the standard platform. And I don't mean that to be like threatening or anything to other companies. It's just like, I just think we can add value. And we're not, like, it's really important to realize that we're not a recruitment company as well. Like, we are doing, we don't make recruitment decisions for companies. Like, if a student applies to us, we can't say no to them. And that's what makes us more of a database than a company. So essentially we can onboard everyone as long as they are graduating at the right time and fit that skill. But we can't go, oh, you're actually not good enough. We actually don't believe that that's the case. The stats show that 90% of engineering grads get a job within 6 months, just under 90%.
That's incredible.
So there's no issue with like people getting jobs. It's just that sometimes it can literally take 6 months after graduating. And that's a long time. So we're just trying to remove the friction and connect people faster, right? So
I feel like I studied the wrong thing. I mean, I definitely did. I studied acting as a degree, which was rogue. And my parents were pretty pissed off after paying for my private school fees. And I was like, I'm going to do acting. And then I wasn't talented. So now I work in finance.
Yeah, okay. But your parents must be happy now.
I think they're happy about that very much. So it's interesting because it's such a male dominated industry. Mm-hmm. So being in it, and most of the people I interview on the podcast are men and male founders, and hearing all of their experiences versus interviewing female founders is really, really different. It's really interesting. And I guess looking at engineering graduates, would you say it's skewed more to a male audience?
So this whole gender bias issue in engineering is a really interesting problem. And yes, to answer your question, engineers are mostly men. And the problem is not that engineers are mostly men, because people are interested in different things, right? Like, I don't think we should strive for 50-50 engineers coming into university, just because like people don't want that. You know what I mean? 50%, like the demand from women to go into engineering is just not as high as demand from men. Like, people are built differently. What the problem becomes is when you're going into recruitment and like their gender is a influence on that hire, whether positively or negatively. Okay. I think one of the benefits of being a startup is that we get to start things from scratch and build new processes and systems. So this has been a really critical part for us, and getting feedback from recruiters in the industry of like what they're looking for. I'm really proud of the way that we've set this up. Essentially how it works is when you search for a role on Gratis, so you put in a job description or you use natural language to search, whatever the case is. Firstly, when a student applies, we have this proprietary system called a CCM, so Candidate Categorization Matrix, and it essentially sanitizes all data that goes into it. So it removes all, we call it PII, or personally identifiable information from it.
Oh, okay.
And so when the AI actually runs a search, it has no access to personally identifiable information. So even if you were to search, I'm only looking for a guy, it'll say, oh, sorry, I don't know who's the guy or not. Yeah. So that way, that's one way we can remove bias. So it's purely on, essentially we search for academic fit, experiential fit, and cultural fit. So essentially what they studied, what work experience they have, and does your company and role offer what this student is looking for in a career.
Okay.
Now, when they run a search, the candidates that are listed are shown in a essentially a 3-column grid, and it just goes down. They can scroll. And a lot of this was influenced by Faith Years, who's one of our advisors. She actually was recently on Forbes 40 Under 40 for her work in recruitment and AI. Fantastic person. And so it's amazing to be advised by her. And so like some of the advice she gave was like, don't put numbers in there, don't put names and stuff. Like it's really cool. So 3x3 grid, because it's not clear who's one, because it just shows 3, right? The reason for that is we're not actually saying that the one we think is number one is the best person, right? You should still make your own decision. We just think that generally speaking, the person that you're looking for is probably near the top of the list. So 3x3 grid, no numbers, there's no percentage match, because what does that mean? Like we might show 85, 60, 65, but really the 60 might be the best fit.
Yeah, right.
But if you don't show the numbers, you'll just see the people and go, oh, that's obviously the best fit. If you see the numbers, you'll go, oh, but it's 25 lower than the other one. But like that doesn't mean anything.
So true.
Right? That's an unvalidated number that our algorithm spits out. So again, that removes bias. So it just, all listings just shows this candidate. There's no name, there's no photo, there's no video, all the language inside the profile, because all parts of our profile, the student doesn't populate the fields themselves. It's all like re-sanitized using AI. So even if they put things in, we can pull stuff out of it. So all the data, you can't actually tell who this person is. And then there's a specific decision point where you have to click unlock graduate. And what that does is it associates a 12-month attribution window to us, which means that if you hire that person in the next 12 months, we can claim the fee. But only at that point does all the details come up.
Okay.
Right? And obviously, we make an assumption that bias in the workforce is more unconscious than conscious by a majority. What I mean by that is like gender discrimination in the majority, gender and culture. I think for like engineering as well, culture is a big one. Those discriminations for the majority of cases come unconsciously, right?
Yeah,
it's like people might have inherent, background issues or environmental things that have happened to them that just causes a bias, and they'll just naturally put it. Not that they're trying to be malicious.
Yeah, sure.
And so what we try to say is, okay, let's show the people, the recruiters, what these people do and why they're good for the job before we show them who they are. Right? So that they actually create a positive bias towards this person before we show any potential negative biases.
Yeah, right.
So that even if there happens to be a negative bias, there's a reason to still pick that person. Okay. Does that make sense?
100%. That's really, really interesting. Yeah. And I think it's really incredible that you've chosen that to be such a pivotal part of your business model, and ensuring that it does differ from other businesses, because I suspect that isn't at the forefront of a lot of these. You can
look up on LinkedIn and you search by name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and photo. And all the little posts that we put up all the time. Yeah, that's really spot on. How interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great way to give opportunities to people who might not have been able to get those opportunities before through a traditional search.
Yes.
So with Gratis, obviously right now you're focusing on graduates. Do you see in the future the ability to, maybe create a different version of the company that just focuses on generic people in the workplace, or do you still want to stick?
I want to stick with graduates, because I think the biggest difference between graduate recruitment and normal recruitment is that graduate recruitment is specific in they look for potential in people. Future potential is really key. Whereas if you're looking for a 30, someone experienced with 30 years in the industry, you're not looking, I want to look for their potential. I care more about what they've accomplished.
Yeah.
And so we've built this platform from the core up on this idea. And I think it's something that you fight with as a founder is there's two things you fight with, which I'm learning more about now because I'm also currently fighting with it. It's one, you think everyone is like you. And so you try to build a platform or a product for other people you try to build a product or platform for yourself, assuming that everyone's like you. And so it's like, oh, well, why wouldn't they use it? Because I would use it.
Yeah.
Right? That's not true. And then the second one is unvalidated assumptions. Every decision point you make as a founder is an assumption on something because you're doing things from scratch. And it's really easy to make a lot of assumptions that are actually unvalidated. You just think it works. And so it's really important to actually map those out early on and go, all right, how have we tested this? How have we tested this? Is this an assumption? What is it? And it goes to like what you were saying about going to other areas of recruitment, right? We want to go to internships. We'll test for that. But the point I'm making is like Gratis will work for graduates and interns. That doesn't mean it works for other people, right? Like, people outside of that. Gratis works for engineers in computer science, technical roles. That's what we're niches in, right? That doesn't mean that we can just do it for lawyers or do it for nurses, do it for doctors. And so it means that if we wanted to go to law and business, we have to it's almost like building another company. Like how much testing and validation you have to go. You have to build a brand new product that is fit for that market. You can't just go, oh, take this, give to them. It'll just work. It won't just work. So for us, I think the path that we're going down is we are testing, everything's an experiment. We are experimenting with the Australian market for engineering and computer science for Gratis, which is what we built. And then the goal is to go to the US or Europe and go globally for this niche technology on graduates and internships in engineering and computer science. And it's goes to show the size of the economy difference in Australia versus the US, because the just engineers in computer science, engineers and software engineers in America is the size of the entire graduate market in Australia. So for us, that's the much more friction-free scaling move. Once we conquer engineering and computer science everywhere, then sure, like we can go other places. But I think you also don't want to go too far out, like predicting, like you said. Like, what does that mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know what's going to happen next week.
Oh, God, no, absolutely not. I have no idea, particularly with AI. It feels like it's really limitless.
Yeah.
So I could never have predicted that we'd be where we are today. Yeah. And I could never have predicted that I use ChatGPT all day, every day to just do the simplest things at any given time.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think AI is, it's been an interesting journey working in the AI tech space. Jeff Bezos did a speech, I think he did it in China, it was really good in the way that he framed AI, where people think it's like the internet, like when the internet first came out, right, as a revolution. But it's actually, he says it's not actually really like the internet. It's more like when electricity first came out, right? I don't know if you know the history of electricity and the grid system in the US, but I'm so paraphrasing from Jeff Bezos here, so I'm not taking any credit for this. But he's saying how like the invention was the light bulb, which essentially needed electricity. And because of the light bulb, it was such a good technology that all houses, it actually funded, like it gave the government a reason to implement the grid system and electricity and wiring to all houses so they could have light, right? The light bulb. Now, the light bulb and lighting was only a small industry. Like it was probably, hundreds of millions, whatever, dollars. But it's nowhere as big as like, appliances, right? But after everyone had electricity now to charge their light bulb, a new innovator would come and say, wait, we have electricity in all houses. Let's do appliances, like kitchen appliances.
Yeah.
Right? And that was a huge market, but it could never have happened without the light bulb. And that couldn't have happened without electricity. And I think what Jeff was saying was that like AI is kind of just like electricity and the light bulb is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for the appliances. You know what I mean? There's something much bigger coming here. And I even like the analogy of like, I'm a mechanical engineer, so I like to go back to mechanical, and it's like AI is just an engine, right? An engine is great and you can optimize and over-optimize an engine, right? There's a reason that there are different companies that make engines, and there are different companies that make cars, right? How useful is an engine going to be if you strap it to your back? Not very useful.
Not
it's just
very.
a heavy thing you're carrying around. Even though it's a really efficient engine.
Yeah.
We're not trying to build an engine. We're just trying to build a car, right? And I think that different AI companies are building different cars for different things. And they're still powered by this engine, but it's about what are they like moving forward to? And they're competing against other cars. And I think that there's all these analogies of like how to actually better understand the ecosystem of AI. But with so many AI companies in the marketplace, like that is analogous to like the dot-com bubble and what happened when internet first came out. And I think the best way I was telling another VC this, actually, a scout, a good friend of mine in Brisbane, but I was saying, because he was saying, I get so many pictures of AI companies like constantly. And I'm like, they're all just a wrapper of ChatGPT. Like, you know what I mean? And so I was like, how do I like tell the difference? Like what's going to work? And I think like a biggest single question you can ask to filter is going like, are they doing something that was possible without AI, but they're just making it, faster or something like that?
Yeah.
Or are they doing something that was impossible without AI? If it was me investing and I had to make a bet, I'd pretty much only bet on things that were completely impossible without AI.
Yeah, right.
Not just an improvement.
Yeah.
Because that's really hard to grow as a company. Whereas this is a necessity. And that's where like Gratis comes in. Like you are not able to search at scale holistically and understand people at that scale before AI. It was actually the technology enables that process. Whereas like I know that car sales has AI now to do their search.
Right.
Like you can do the search perfectly fine without AI. And having, building a new tool that like, lets you, sort your inbox using AI. Like, well, you could sort your inbox without AI. Like, I don't know if I had to put $1 million in something, I'd be picking the one that's impossible without AI, not just makes us a little bit faster or better.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think
that
about
makes so much sense. Bijin, thank you so much for coming on the podcast with me. It's been so unbelievable to pick your brains. It's made me feel a bit smarter. I feel like I've sponged up a little bit of your knowledge and I feel like we've just hit the tip of the iceberg. But it's incredible what you're building and I can't wait to see what the next 6 to 12 months brings you. And good luck on your fundraising round. I'm sure you'll do absolutely incredibly well. Thanks for coming in.
Really appreciate that. Thank you, Emily.